I completed 21 games, in the sense of rolling the credits, in 2025. So, as a YouTubist almost exclusively dealing in old games, how many of them are old, and which should you be buying? Let's find out. Balatro. Few people need this explaining. The indie game that became a phenomenon and then got made adult only on several shop fronts because it contains playing cards and that's gambling. Meanwhile, they'll sell Call of Duty Extra Murder Edition to just about anyone. Obviously, I've not played all of Balatro because that's nearly impossible, but by the time I'd finished the game, I was pretty much happily done with it. Some people would have lost their entire year to it though. Star Wars Outlaws. I'm not a big Star Wars fan, so it's difficult to judge on that basis, but that's okay, because what this actually is another 7 out of 10 slice of Ubisoft open world template. It's Watch Dogs or Far Cry in a different setting, and it's a perfectly nice one. It did not rock my world, but I enjoyed it just as much as I always do those games. Sniper Elite Resistance. I always like these, and the last couple especially. People sometimes skip over them because of the subject matter and the advertising consisting of gratuitous nutshot animations. You can turn those off if you like, and what you're actually left with is more like Sniper Hitman, in areas ranging from cramped corridors to towns to overviews of entire airfields. When it goes right, you feel like a hero. When it goes badly, it goes really very entertainingly wrong, and it's also not too long to complete. Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name. Sega start to conclude the story of the Yakuza series' biggest star with a smaller and more compact game than most in the series, which weirdly makes it not a bad starting spot if the sheer size of the others has always put you off. Gaiden also uses the traditional punching mechanic of the series rather than the turn-based battles of most of the rest of the Like a Dragon named games. Avowed. I remember enjoying this, but thinking back 9 months after completing it, I remember surprisingly little of it, and I think quite a lot of what I do remember is actually Clair Obscur. Then I watched this trailer and thought I remembered a bunch more, but no, that was Dragon Age. It's an Obsidian RPG, it's got the Obsidian things, but apparently don't expect it to affect you for longer than it takes to delete it after you roll the credits. Dungeons 4. Dungeons, especially the 3rd and 4th, are the Dungeon Keeper sequels you've been waiting for ever since War for the Overworld was the Dungeon Keeper sequel you were waiting for. That will depend on how much you can stand a story told by an unreliable narrator played by Kevin Brighting of the Stanley Parable, who is willing to engage in lengthy arguments with your leader in the dungeon, the Dark Elf sorcerer Talia, who is less concerned with the conquering and more with wiping out her previously adopted family and her own imaginary good twin. Otherwise, if you want Dungeon Keeper for the 2020s, this is it, and the expansive post-campaign DLC for both is frequently on sale. Blueprints. Ooh, this one's going to be controversial, because to me, Blueprints is a 10 out of 10 idea rendered as a 7 out of 10 game. While there is always more to discover, you'll probably find yourself annoyed by the sheer level of random chance involved in any given run. People say finishing the game is basically the tutorial, but for me it had run its course by that point thanks to both the randomness, early game decisions that can permanently make things harder for you, and a map design that means even when you know what to do, there is 5 minutes of busy work every single run in the endgame. After 20 failed runs in a row where all I needed to do was literally finish, I eventually used a mod to remove at least some of the randomness, just so I could find the mysterious Room 46, and I've not been particularly interested in digging deeper than that. So far, the same publisher's other breakout hit, The Seance of Blake Manor, is a much better actual game. As much as everyone should play Blueprints, just know when to stop. Batman Arkham Asylum, the first game I finished before making a reappearance. Batman Arkham claims to be incompatible with the Steam Deck, but in reality it works perfectly so long as you set the deck offline before you launch the game. And it confirmed this is still my favourite of the series. The tighter, better defined map, the fact the Joker character is more solid, playing on his home turf, and the ability for series tropes to surprise you make it better than the larger, flabbier sequels. It's a perfectly designed, not lengthy campaign with no filler material other than maybe Riddler's input. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. A Like a Dragon with the other protagonist, and with the turn-based battles. Wealth is the exact opposite of Gaiden, taking place across 2 gigantic maps and with more to do than trying to organise a royal wedding single-handed. You have both Hawaii and Japan to save, and maybe you'll get to that when you finish playing arcade games, golf, pocket circuit races, visiting not at all dodgy clubs, and hanging out at the shopping mall. Oh, and effectively an entire copy of the game Animal Crossing that isn't even a big enough part of the experience for me to have mentioned it, or even remembered it was in there before this point. When I said Gaiden might suit you if the other ones seemed intimidatingly large, this is the intimidatingly large one. Lost Records, Bloom and Rage. If you know Life is Strange, you're broadly on board, but this time it's the world that has the abilities. Lost Records tells the story of 4 women meeting up nearly 3 decades after the summer they became friends, experienced something, and then vowed to never talk again. The reveal occurs slowly across both timelines, and the present day section especially can go in many directions in ways I didn't realise until I looked it up after I finished it. Maybe it's because I saw parallels in both my life and Swan's, but no game has made me sit there quietly for quite so long after finishing the whole story, especially with how things turned out for me. Or made me think about it so often afterwards. It didn't get the attention because it didn't have the flashy gimmick, but this is the best storytelling in games in years. Quantum Witch. It's unfortunate for Lost Records that its commendable effort at making choices matter occurred simultaneously in my life with Nicky J's near solo effort Quantum Witch. Witch's story, written with the assistance of 2 all-timers in Paul Digitizer Rose and Stephanie Sterling, has more changes than the layout of your local supermarket every time you go in just wanting to buy a pack of bloody Kit Kats. Part of that is Quantum Witch is only 3 hours or so long, and given its bargainous price, you could play Ren's story through once, take that as canon, and think fondly of the experience. But no game has ever genuinely managed to rip apart its own world while remaining coherent like QW does, and every subsequent playthrough reveals more of this, assisted by a comprehensive achievement list rendered as unlockable waveforms. There are a few games that are nothing like anything else, but QW has a strong case. It draws from platformers, point-and-click adventures, and visual novels without being any of those things. It's not afraid to jump from jokes about joining a cult to attacking and dethroning God, and from meta-jokes drawn from 40 years of video gaming to a mysterious woman tied up in the woods. Clair Obscur. Okay, yes, it won everything, and then got itself into hot water over the use of AI for placeholder assets, which, supposedly, didn't make it into the game itself. And for being an indie darling that somehow won a lot of awards that are essentially paid for. Either way, I didn't know any of this when I played it, but it was my game of the year. The French do Final Fantasy as the complete and only pitch. In a world where the Final Fantasies have a tendency to merge into each other, especially when they remake one of them over 3 games because they apparently weren't long enough, was itself enough to make this game worth playing. But also not one I will ever convince anyone else on either way, which is also true of Gran Turismo 7. GT7's credit sequence is finishing the menu mode in the cafe, which is both long enough and the closest the game has to a story. Now, everything I'm about to say is coming from the perspective of being a racing obsessive and a sim driving nerd, so evaluate it for you, not me. Because here's the thing, GT7 is an awful racing game. It's an excellent driving game, especially with a wheel, but it's abysmal for racing. In most of the game, you start 30 seconds behind the leader for a 3-lap race, so you need to be 10 seconds faster than the field to win. And if you're that much faster, they're not opponents, they're obstacles like the traffic in an outrun game. The new power pack might fix that, but it was always GT7's problem. If you want racing with sim physics, there's slim pickings on console after the tyre fire that was Project Motor Racing. But Assetto Corsa and the forthcoming Le Mans Ultimate might be your bag. If you want to drive a lot of cars, GT7 every time. Wheelworld. I bounced off this in 2024, not least because it's a cute little mountain bike racing game, but you don't discover that without sitting through an hour of the most tedious text dialogue in game history. Once you're past that and it stops throwing the full plot at you, it opens up into a perfectly nice little racing game that at least builds its interesting world well. Adding little side missions to each race keeps the interest up as well. Robocop Rogue City. Largely out of nowhere, a surprisingly interesting little shooter that does a good job of reflecting the world from the movies and giving you at least some agency to change or ignore things. A dogshit last boss of course, but that's video game bosses for you. Outside that, there's a lot to discover and appreciate while customising Robert's abilities to a decent degree, always giving yourself options on how to deal with situations. Deliver Us the Moon. From the Walking Simulator Department of Adventures, this is an engaging narrative game about a mission to terraform the moon that has clearly gone really very wrong. It has its lows, notably a section with the always lazy, your character walks slower than normal during a timed sequence for arbitrary reasons gambit, but really this is a decent space thriller movie you get to be part of. Excavation of Hobbs Barrow. A few years old, but Hobbs Barrow is the point-and-click adventure of the year, and the developer's entire output is either in my wishlist or library. Thomasina Bateman comes to the sleepy town of Bewley to excavate a burial mound. On arrival, her contact is missing, and the residents are either outright hostile or warn her to go nowhere near it. But her ties to the mound are more than she expects. It's a folk horror game masterfully done, and with only one puzzle that made me think, really? Pocket Boss. As much a toy as anything else, this is only going to be about an hour long. You're a remote working employee and your boss is constantly after data and graphs to keep his boss happy. Too real, Pocket Boss. Too real. It cost virtually nothing. It was a fun evening. Borderlands 4. Another one I'm not sure I can add anything. I love Borderlands, always have, even Claptrap. But then for me it's been the series that I've played through myself, a lot. I've played it through with friends, a lot. I'm working through 4 again right now with my oldest friend. I finished everything there is to do in 2 with a group of 3 work friends. I've played it solo, split screen and online. So I'm always going to be biased. I don't think 4 is convincing too many holdouts, although there's a lot less Claptrap. There have been changes. A lot of the former characters don't appear, and it's not really designed for 2 playthroughs with a character unlike the former ones. Conversely, it's a lot longer. It took me 100 hours to finish, although I was doing everything. I loved it. Cruis'n USA. Not a popular choice. I've been playing new things since I got the Analog 3D, and I've had this cart a while, and it's being mentioned in a Yestazine soon, so why not? It's ugly compared to the arcade, it doesn't have the frame rate, it handles like a milk float on worn tyres. I quite liked it. Powerwash Simulator 2. The greatest accompaniment to a podcast since Euro Truck Sim 2 is back, and this time they thought about the quality of life features to reduce even the tiny frustrations of the original. Plus I've got a Steam Deck now on which it runs near perfectly. The surprise of the first game's quality plot, or even that it was possible for a game like this to have a plot, is obviously something it's going to struggle to repeat, and it never hits the highs of the first game in that respect, even though it is there and moves on nicely. As good a sequel as you'll get, and some of the forthcoming DLC is going to be excellent. So there's 21 games I finished to a definition I'm personally accepting. What have we learned here? Play Quantum Witch. Yeah, I think that's basically it. Like and or subscribe, I guess.